Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm reviewing a classic, and oh boy, am I excited. I didn't realize how good this was. I had always kind of passed this up, but if you're wondering what am I reviewing apart from if you've read the title, then it's the Transformers film, the original, which is in 4K from Funimation. It's weird to say, I keep thinking we want to say Manga UK, but this is from Funimation UK. This is out on 4K, and oh my god, is it beautiful in 4K. I have never really watched a 4K before. This to me was intent, and I'm going to talk about it. Now, I want to say off the bat, I am not a huge Transformers fan. The really one that I watched was Beast Wars back in the day, and that was my kind of introduction to Transformers. I'd always known about it, but I'd never watched it. But I am so glad that I watched this, and I can see why everybody loves it. And if I'd seen this as a kid, I know that I would have became a fan of Transformers. But before we begin this review, if you're a fan of Transformers, hit the subscribe button, smash the like button, as well as leave a comment on which Transformers series or Transformer that you like, and let's just jump straight into it. Now, as I have mentioned before, the animation, the style of this is beautiful. The way that it has been lovingly remastered and stuff like that, to me, it is stunning. This really kept my attention, and it reminded me a lot more of stuff from like Thundercats. That's what I kind of picked up on, but because obviously this was all done in Japan, I can understand why. But for me, I absolutely love this. The way that they've really cleaned all of this up, and I mean, there is some grain and some marks still in it that you can see all the way through, but I generally really enjoyed it. I thought the animation was absolutely superb. As I've made notes, I don't normally talk about what you get in this completely, like, you know, what extras and stuff, but seeing as it's 4K, there's quite a lot of things that you do get, so I kind of really wanted to mention it. So the box set contains one UHD disc, one Blu-ray special features, 6 art cards, one poster of Matt Fergus, Transformers the movie, one art book, and it all comes in a rigid box that does look amazing, and I'll put it on screen so you can see what you're getting, because it does generally look really nice. Now, with the special features, you do get quite a lot. So again, I'm going to put this on screen for you so you can see it if it's not up before I say it, because I know some people are like, but you've got to say as soon as you say it, that's when it pops up. But this is what you get. I generally think there's a lot of stuff that you do get, which is for any Transformers fan, it's absolutely amazing, and it's a must buy so you can see it. And I'm hoping that you get more and more of this every single time this is released, or this was the ultimate pinnacle stuff that you can get. But as you can see, there's quite a lot of stuff. Now, with the special features, I do believe that you could keep coming back over and over, and you could keep watching them, because there's so much, and I think every single time that you would watch it, you would notice something a little bit different. You don't normally get all this, but I'll be darned if you're a Transformers fan and you don't find all of this really interesting. So I'm glad that they've put so much on the disc so you can watch. Because of this, I'm now going to review it. I just want to talk about everything you got previously. One thing in this is I generally didn't know what I was getting myself into. A lot of the time that when I've seen cartoons now, it's mainly talking. There's not enough action. And pretty much, I have to say, as soon as this started, it was action non-stop. It wasn't just a general shootout, and then for the next hour or so, they keep talking about their feelings or what's going to happen to the planet. For me, it was just non-stop action. And it's really hard to say, because I've not seen that in such a long time, because everything has kind of changed. It's just literally, as soon as the movie starts, this is what happens. You're introduced to Unicron, and then boom, what happens? It's just lasers and transforms and all the time. And I was just like, holy crap, I love 80s cartoons, because this is how most of them thought. It was just throw in lasers, actions, animate this. And I can see why people love this film so much, that I was generally impressed from start to finish. I think there's one part where it dipped for me, but from start to finish, I absolutely adored all of this and was super happy. I mentioned previously at the very beginning, I think the animation is beautiful. I think that there's something magical about it that really kind of like engrossed me in this, where I had to keep watching. I didn't want to stop. I just literally I wanted more, effectively. That's what I'm trying to say, is I wanted more. But the animation back then, like, consider what we've got now, the animation back then, it was amazing, and I can see why this is such a beloved film by many Transformers fans. I feel with this animation, I do believe that it stands up against most modern animation now. And today, I think that if you went back to this sort of animation, I think people would kind of really enjoy it, because I feel like there is so much there that you can do. Now, the music, oh god, it was literally living back in the 80s when I was watching all of this. It was just constant, and I think I miss that sort of kind of energy from this music. This music to me was absolutely fantastic. It's just out of nowhere when it's like they're fighting. It's just like, I'm not gonna sing it because I can't remember most of it, but like it would come up really randomly. Like there would be a sad part and suddenly an 80s ballad would just bust out, and it'd be like, hey, Hot Rod, we've got to go do it. All right, let's go. And it'd be like, you've got to do it for your feelings. And I was like, do you know what? I applaud the soundtrack. The soundtrack was amazing. And there's also one by Weird Al as well, which when I was listening, I was like, is this Weird Al? And then when the credits rolled, I was like, oh shit, it was. So I was genuinely impressed with the music. The music at the right time, each part, it stuck. It was the best, and I absolutely freaking was amazed by it. I adored this, believe me. Through this entire film, I felt like the Autobots really got their ass handed to them. They could not catch a break. And what was really nice is that it was a fresh thing as well. It was fresh. It was like you always see in cartoons these days where people always win. They always, like, you know, the good guys win no matter what. The bad guys never prevail. Like they get one slight leg up and that's it. But in this one, the Autobots just absolutely got destroyed. It was first, even when they like stuck about for a few like minutes to kind of catch their breath or whatever, they got beaten again. And it was just so nice to see. I can say this is like an all-time favorite film of mine, but I generally really just like the fact that the Autobots really had to work hard, because the Decepticons just literally destroyed them or wiped them out really kind of quickly. Now, this film to me, I did get bored a tiny bit, but there's one part, I can't remember where it was, but because everything was action, I wasn't bored at all. I was more kind of engrossed, as I've mentioned before. The main part of this is that Unicron is heading towards, to me, he felt like a Galactus from Marvel, or maybe Galactus was kind of built on him, who knows? Let me know down below in the comments. But because of this, like, he just kept wanting to feed, kept eating everything in his way. And I felt like this was a bigger threat. He knows later on of Optimus Prime's death, which again, I'll kind of touch on in a bit. But with this, he decides that he wants the Matrix. And then he knows that once he's got the Matrix, or the Matrix is destroyed, then there is nothing that could defeat him in the universe. And this, I felt, was like it kind of focuses a little bit on it and it drops. So when obviously you've got Megatron and he turns into Galvatron, you know, it's more like we've got to get the Matrix on and stuff like that. But I felt like this was just a way of, well, let's just beat on the Autobots, just beat on them, because beating on the Autobots was the thing to do in this. You have two humans in this. You have a human called Daniel, and you have Daniel's dad, and that's all you kind of really see. It's like you've got to try and focus on what's happened to Daniel's dad, but it feels like that's just a subplot. It's just like, oh, my dad's on the moon. All right, okay, cool. And then you meet up with him. Like, oh, there he is. How is he? There you go. That's all you kind of see. And I didn't mind that whatsoever. I just felt like you could take that element out and it just had no relevance to the entire story whatsoever, apart from saving him and then heading home and stuff like that. That was it. I just generally was just like, oh, okay, cool. In this, Optimus Prime dies, and I generally kind of thought, for a film, for a brand where Optimus Prime is the main character for all, having him die quite early on in the film, I was kind of like, oh crap, like, what the hell? I can see why people would be sad because of that death scene, but to me, I was kind of like, because I've got no connection to any of these characters, I didn't kind of feel any kind of sadness to it. I felt like the Autobots really got dicked over constantly. And obviously with Megatron turning into Galvatron, I found like it wasn't Megatron, so it felt like a whole brand new bad guy. But for this, I generally was shocked that they would have killed off the main character early on in the series, and not like in a massive big fight or something, or him sacrificing himself for so Unicron can defeat him, so that Optimus Prime could really defeat the bad guys and kind of move on his way. Optimus Prime gives the Autobots, mainly Ultra Magius the Matrix, to say you've got to keep it safe, and that's when he kind of dies off. which I generally kind of thought, it's like, okay, we knew it was going to be passed on very, very easily. As Megatron has been absolutely almost killed off and he's really weak, Starscream decides to stab him in the back and then gets rid of him. That's how Unicron meets him and turns Megatron into Galvatron. And then Galvatron goes back and kills Starscream, which is a fitting end because I generally sat and thought, do I like Starscream? But no, he's a massive prick. So I didn't have any kind of thought for when he just died. I was just like, nah, that's good riddance, because if he became friends again or they became partners, that you would just dick him over. So I was glad that Starscream was kind of taken out of this. So as the kind of progress happens, that's why the Autobots get absolutely hammered constantly over time. They come up to a junk planet, and there's two parts in this where you meet it's hard to say, so you meet the Quintensions, I think they're called, and this kind of really gave me a Jason the Wheeled Warriors type vibe, which I would love to see a Jason the Wheeled Warriors thing kind of happen now. But it's the kind of thing of they get tested. If they get put on trials, oh, you're innocent, you die anyway. So I generally kind of thought, what the hell the point was of that one. So you meet some new characters, then you meet the junk droids or Drunkatrons or something, which really kind of irritated me because at first you don't know if they're good or bad, and then they decide to attack the rest of the Autobots. Then they do the universal universal greeting, which then they all start dancing, and I think that's what kind of took me out of the film a little bit because it just felt a little bit weird. But anyway, it was just that's all I can say. So Ultramegaeus dies, and therefore Galvatron gets the Allspark, and then obviously they return to Unicron, and then Unicron transforms. There's a huge fight that kind of happens, and then you've got Hot Rod versus Galvatron all the way through, and this is when obviously you meet Daniel's dad as well, and there's loads of fighting. I felt like I would rather see the fight between Unicron and the others kind of expanded a tiny bit. I feel like you could have cut out some of the previous part because it was a little bit boring, but I wanted more fights. I wanted to literally see Unicron beat the crap out of all of them because of the size he is. It continues inside, which is quite weird because you think that Unicron would be able to detect and help out Galvatron, but not. Hot Rod then smacks Galvatron outside of Unicron, and then Hot Rod becomes Rodimus Prime, and everybody cheers for the end of the war. And then randomly, you just see Unicron's head floating around Cybertron, which I don't know if that was a message like, don't come and fuck with us because we will do this to you. But to me, I thought it was kind of a fitting end to it, and I kind of liked it. And that's pretty much what happens all the way through the film. From someone who is not a Transformers fan, I really enjoyed this. I was entertained all the way through, and I could watch it over and over again and not get bored. If this was my first introduction to Transformers when I was a lot younger, I guarantee I probably would have been a Transformers fan because I generally enjoy the story. I love the characters, and I have seen Beast Wars, which when I was younger I absolutely adored. So for me, this was absolutely perfect. I enjoyed every single moment of it. The music to this, the animation, it all stood out, and I generally thought that you could put this on now and go back to the style of animation where it would really succeed for what it is. But I would generally really kind of liked it. I thought it was great. I felt like the ending was a little bit rushed. I feel like you could have cut some of the stuff out, like the dancing and the junk droids, whatever they're called. Cut that a little bit out to kind of extend the battle because it just felt like it was really rushed. And obviously they had a split amount of time to do this, so I can understand it. I did write it down. It was like I didn't like the Junkions at all, to be honest, and I thought, why were you in this anyway? I love this film. If I'd seen this as a kid, I would have been hooked. I highly recommend this film. I would get it in its full limited edition. So as I say, I highly recommend getting this. This film to me is perfect. If you're a Transformers fan, you must get this in 4K. You will not be disappointed in the quality whatsoever. I was really, really, really impressed on it, and I generally really liked it. So I'm going to end it there. What are your thoughts on Transformers, the movie 4K? Not to be confused with the Transformers film from Michael Bay. But from this animated film, what did you think about it? Are you a big fan? What did you think about Optimus Prime's death? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you like this sort of content and you want to see more, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, as well as that cheeky notification bell to be notified when more videos drop. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.
チャンネルをサポートしてくれてありがとう。 チャンネル登録、高評価お願い。